5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hi, folks, and thanks for joining us for our quarterly Close Community Coalition meeting. We are the Coalition of Longmeadow Organizing Substance Education for the Community. We're working on youth substance prevention in the town of Longmeadow, Massachusetts. Thanks for being with us. We meet just about every 3 months. This is our community meeting that's open to anyone who's interested in supporting our prevention work. I'd love to go around and just have folks introduce themselves, their name, the sector they represent, if it's schools, if it's parents, if it's health, if it's a law enforcement agency, and a quick thing about yourself, something you're most looking forward to in the spring. Who would like to start us off?
I'll start. Hi, I'm
Ms. Healy.
Candace Matthew Healy, representing parents on the steering committee and looking forward to the cherry blossoms to bloom here,
Here.
not in DC because I'm not there.
Yeah. Well, you do have cherry blossoms in Longmeadow. There's a lot.
Yes, we
Yeah.
have one in our front yard.
Oh, cool.
So I'm
Okay.
looking forward to that.
When does it usually happen?
April.
Okay. Fingers crossed. It's coming. Thanks for coming. Dr. Healy?
Hi, Andrew Healy. Health is my
It's your sector. That's right.
sector.
Yeah.
And looking forward to my son coming home from school.
St. Andrews.
From St. Andrews, correct.
He's not graduating, is he?
He's not.
Okay. But he's not supposed to
Yeah,
graduate.
Yes. You set that up well, Paul. Made him sound
He's not
deficient.
graduating. No, he's not. He's not supposed to.
He has
Folks,
one more year.
to all the folks watching at home, he's not supposed to graduate for another year.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. What do you? And you're looking forward to your son coming home. Dr. Lisa Taylor Kelly. So many doctors.
I guess I'm also in the health sector.
You are.
And we're like in parent sector land here too. What am I looking most for? I just love spring in general. Like, just the weather's just right and everything is blooming and opening up, and it makes me feel very hopeful. So it is my favorite season, so I'll just say that. And the kids coming home for a bit till I'm ready to send them back.
It's like an afterthought. Oh, and my kids.
Well-
I'm Grace Caracetti. I'm a senior at Longmeadow High School, and I represent the youth sector, and I'm looking forward to sunny weather.
And you're doing track.
Yes.
Pole vault.
Yep.
Are you got into college, didn't you?
I did get
Are
into
you going to
college.
school?
Some school. I don't know which one yet.
You don't know which one yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Congratulations. You got into a
Congratulations.
school. Grace is awesome and super smart. And you're going to do the pole vault. Please be safe.
Of course.
Isn't that the one where you're like 20 feet in the air?
I'm not that good. but
Okay.
just a couple feet.
The old 2 feet,
Yeah.
2 feet world record. Okay. Thanks, Grace. Thanks for being here. And Vivian Welch will be here soon. She represents the youth sector as well. She's babysitting.
Yep.
My name is Tony Simmons. I represent the law enforcement sector. I oversee District Attorney Anthony DeGaluni's Community Safety and Outreach Unit.
Safety and Outreach Unit, one of the most prized units in DA Galuni's office.
Community
That's
Safety
right.
and Outreach.
Yeah, we love it. Thanks for being. Oh, something you're excited about in the spring, Tony?
Easy golf. You
play golf?
It's
That's
awful.
right.
Yes, yeah.
It's awful. It just takes a lot of time.
Yeah, it's been a long winter,
Okay.
and I can't wait to get out there. That's it.
What's
Where
your
do you
good?
play? Where do you play?
I am a member at Edgewood Country Club golf course, but I play Franconia Veterans in Chicopee. I've gone the ranch. I've gone out to Crompton Fox.
Yeah.
I've gone
Okay.
in Berniston. So
The ranch is fancy.
yeah, the ranch. Yeah, I'm not great. I'm not good. I just like the experience
Okay.
That's
to be
awesome.
out there. That's it. I don't take it seriously, and I bring a whole bunch of extra balls just in case.
Just in case.
Not a problem.
In case those kids come and steal them.
No,
I know.
In case they go
yeah, you know.
where
case
they're
you
not
hit them in
supposed
the-
to go.
in case you hit them in the
Very
woods.
well.
So just don't worry about it. You lose a ball, you move on. So
Yeah.
that's it. That's all.
That's
Thank you.
how I would
That's
play.
exciting.
Yes.
Well, happy spring.
Thanks. Good evening. My
Hi.
name is Gina Anselmo. I'm also from the Hamden District Attorney's Office Community Safety and Outreach Unit. And I will have to agree with Grace. I'm just looking forward to warmer weather in general.
Fantastic. Thanks for being here, Gina.
You're welcome.
Well, welcome, folks. Let's get started. Here's our steering committee. We have a bunch of members in the room right now. We have Candace Healy, Dr. Andrew Healy, Grace Carichetti, Dr. Lisa Taylor Kelly, Vivian Welch will be here soon. Reverend Charlotte LaForest from St. Andrews isn't able to make it this week. She's practicing many different events for Holy Week. I'm not super familiar. Is it Holy Week coming up? Okay. Is it now or next week?
I am also unfamiliar.
You're familiar? You're unfamiliar? Oh, okay.
Passover is on.
It's leading up to Easter.
Leading up to Easter.
Palm
Okay, that makes more
Sunday
sense.
is on
Got it. Easter's in
this
March
coming
this year.
Sunday.
Yeah.
Okay.
March 31st. Yeah.
Cool. And Chris Rich, an awesome active parent and life coach in town, also couldn't make it. So, Safe Prom and grad season is coming up. So I wanted to do some planning today. I wanted to discuss some of the things we've done in the past and try to figure out a plan for this year. And then the people that are in this room today, I just would love feedback about a bunch of the strategies that we're planning on rolling out. So this is a message that we sent out to parents last year, a message about Cape Week, which is something that happens for graduating 12th graders, where they organize the same week on the Cape. Usually it sounds like the same-ish, three-ish towns of Falmouth, Dennis, and Brewster are the three more common towns to rent properties. And so this was a message that we had worked with the high school administrators to send out last year, just basically giving parents the heads up about social host liability, tips for parents about how to talk to your kids about drinking and binge drinking and the risks of drinking and binge drinking, and then how to sign up as a Longmeadow Safe Home parent. So there's tons of parents that have signed up from the town of Longmeadow to commit to being a substance-free home when other kids are spending time at their house. So that's a message that went out in the spring last year. And some of the messages, the content were as follows. Party tips, just how to host a party that's substance-free or safe, or both. So when your teen is hosting a party, when your teen is attending a party, tips for parents. This is something that we're really excited that District Attorney Gallooni's office developed last year, the Mass Social Host Liability, Underage Drinking, and Marijuana Use. It was a guide for parents that they developed, which was really handy and useful, and we were super grateful. And it's all about social host liability. And then we sent out a bunch of messages on social media. This message was from the Frameworks Institute about keep problems from boiling over. Ensure your teen's parties are alcohol-free. They talked about youth development and substance use as like, it's a pot where the water is boiling when teenagers are developing. Substance use can help the pot boil over. Hey, Dr. Vivian Welch. Oh, wait, just Vivian Welch. There's so many doctors in the room. You just got your doctorate. So we shared a bunch of messages on social media about positive youth development. If your teen comes home or drunk or high, when parents are out of town, things they can do. The social host liability information for the state of Massachusetts. We sent out a bunch of different messages that the Massachusetts Department of Public Health developed years ago. They should probably update them because I think the costs are probably even higher now. Sharing information last year about social host liability, a fine of up to $2,000, or imprisonment for up to a year, or both, if a parent furnishes knowingly or unknowingly to a minor alcohol or other illicit substances. There was some Q&A, just stuff about the social host law itself, and this will come up a little later, but the idea of it's almost right at the bottom. It's very hard to read from where you guys are sitting. Does the social host law apply if I rent a hotel room for my child's party? So that's very specific to Cape Week. Yes, since you control the hotel room, the social host law applies. So you are still liable for what happens at that party. Parents are the most important influence in their child's lives. This is more messaging from the State Department of Public Health last year. An action plan for parents about how to keep their spring safe and healthy for their graduating seniors. And then we developed our own postcards that we sent out. So every household in Longmeadow got, I believe it was 3 separate postcards all about social host liability. And also normalizing that most parents don't serve alcohol or other substances to minors in their home. So we're normalizing the fact that most parents are doing the right thing. And this is all messages that were developed for a campaign right here at the quarterly meeting with parents that were involved last year. Hear nothing, see nothing, but you're still responsible for everything if teens drink in your home. Don't get caught with your head in the sand. And these were like the backs of the postcards. 92% of Long Meadow parents don't allow teen drinking in their home. Keep up the great work. That's the positive norm. And this was, I believe, the first message that went out. What are you doing? Checking their backpacks for substances? Good. So we wanted to normalize just keeping an eye on your kids' possessions, because that you can and you should when things are being brought into your home. And then I had a conversation, I thought this was super interesting. I spoke recently with the deputy chief of Yarmouth Police Department about what do you guys do when there's Cape Week happening and Long Meadow teenagers descending down on Yarmouth for 1 week. And the conversation was incredibly enlightening. Local Massachusetts colleges and universities used to do this. They'd organize a week where they'd have binge drinking parties, they'd rent hotel rooms in Yarmouth, but it's decreased dramatically recently, especially with a bunch of different things happening in the news where people are liable for incidents and injuries, and communication has increased between the actual schools of Northeastern, Stonehill, and the town of Yarmouth. The responsibility of minors lies on the parents. That's something that's sort of helped the police department shift their focus on, instead of just cracking down on teenagers that are showing up, really having the responsibility lie on the parents who are, in charge of these children's well-being. 30,000 plus residents live in Yarmouth year-round. I think the deputy chief was really interested in sharing that it's not really a sleepy beach town, so it's not a town that has nothing going on with no police officers. There's a lot of police officers. There's a lot of residents to support with local law enforcement. Home checks are not available, unlike the town of Longmeadow. If you want the PD to check your home if you're out of town, you can just call them up and request that, and if they have the time, they'll check your home. But Yarmouth doesn't have the capacity to do that because they're busy responding to other calls. Minors will be charged with possession. They have been in the past in the town of Yarmouth. Parents must be contacted if there's an incident, and the parent must retrieve that minor immediately, meaning if they don't want their child to be charged and locked up, they have to come and retrieve them immediately, because the police department's not responsible for minors. So when they break up parties, that's what they have to do. Is essentially, it's a huge time suck and resource suck on their part. Social host laws are real on the Cape. He drew my attention to a teenager that was killed, who drowned accidentally in a pool in Dedham, Massachusetts in 2021, and it was the home of a Massachusetts state trooper. And the trooper and his wife were both charged and had to do, I believe, a year in prison and then 3 years probation after that. So it's very real. And so when parents, it's sort of out of sight, out of mind tradition, I think, for a lot of Longmeadow households and families. But it's just as risky as it would be in the town of Longmeadow, if not more risky, because it's more concentrated, higher incident rate of parties and binge drinking parties. So that was something that we learned about just this week. We talked with Yarmouth PD. This was a campaign we've used in the last few years. It's a lawn sign campaign. We had more than 60 families sign up for the Parents Who Host Lose the Most lawn sign campaign. We wanted to develop new messaging, we believe, this year because, and this I believe was Chris Rich and Dr. Taylor Kelly, I think you guys both brought this up. When parents host, they aren't the ones who necessarily lose the most. If there's a horrible incident that happens, everybody in the community is hurt by it. So we wanted to change the messaging from something like, when parents host, everyone loses, something like that. So we can talk about that a little bit. Did I want to? Oh. Yeah, let me share a few resources, and then we can get into some discussion. Armchair Expert. I just this morning on the way to work listened to this episode. I believe it was aired this morning. Lisa D'Amour And the whole conversation was around teenagers, substance use, self-regulation, and it was just unbelievably timely and relevant to just the work we do, and it was wicked interesting. So I recommend people listen to it. It was super, super interesting. I thought I knew a lot about teenagers, and now I know a lot more about teenagers. Yeah, pay a listen to it. And if you are concerned about your child's substance use, please contact Shelley Warren for support. She is the substance addiction response coordinator for the school district, and she's phenomenal to work with. So feel free to check in with Shelley Warren and have your child check in privately or independently as well. Just wanted to give that shout out to Shelley. Great. Well, let's discuss. So these are the things we've done in the past. What should we do this year to prevent risky substance use during prom and graduation season?
I know our office is coming, I think, in late April for a Stop the Swerve presentation. I think we have that on the calendar for the Long Meadow High students who drive. I think we did that. I think we typically would do that each year, if I'm not mistaken.
Around the same time?
Yes, I believe so.
And what does
Well,
that
I know we
entail?
are
Can you
on the
tell everyone
calendar.
what that means? Like, what does that mean? What is
Yeah.
the Stop the Swerve campaign?
Yep, so our Stop the Swerve presentation is one of many presentations that we do for students. And of course, it's popular during prom season, but we can do it whenever. But it addresses the dangers of impaired and distracted driving. So it's kind of like two parts to it. The first part is we show them a documentary, and it has, I think, 2 or 3 real stories of local people who got in the car impaired and ended up killing someone who was in the car. So they kind of tell their story. And then we bring in an assistant district attorney who prosecutes vehicular homicide cases to kind of, talk about the facts and the work that they do, to bring in, the real life facts and experience when it comes to that. And it's usually pretty impactful. It's a good program.
How long have you guys been doing the Stop the Swerve campaign?
Oh, goodness.
Um,
Longer than I've been around.
Yeah.
So 30
And I've been
years.
around for for about 5 or 6 years, so
Say
more than
about 7, 8 years,
Okay.
something like that.
So this
We used
isn't
to
like a
have a
new thing.
huge competition down at the Basketball Hall of Fame. We have a whole Stop the Swerve event where we show the video, and then we have some stations where we show kids what it's like to drive impaired by. We have some goggles that they use, and we have different activities that they can compete in. But more importantly, what we did, we had a competition, a PSA competition and a billboard competition, and at that time we gave away $10,000 to the schools who compete, the winner of both billboard and PSA, and had to be around distracted driving.
Are you
don't
doing
do
that this year?
anymore. No, it was funded by MAD, and since COVID, they haven't come up with the funds yet, but we're hoping at some point to do that again.
Cool.
But yeah, most of our distracted driving, we do because of the nature of the job that we do. We reinforce the things that they've probably been told by the experience that we see, the things that we see in our office. The part that brings it to life is just real simple, sort of cautionary tales about, you really always need to wear your seatbelt. Your car is designed to protect you. The seatbelt is a big thing, because when the prosecutor says that he has seen many situations where someone was just driving 20 miles per hour and they didn't have their seatbelt, and tragedy occurred. So, he sort of brings those things to life, and we hope that kids listen to us, especially because it's what they see every day in their job.
I mean, this community was hit pretty hard by a fatal accident
Yeah, we
years ago.
came around. Yeah, it's.
Yeah, did you
it's
speak
just
like
a
around
sad-
that?
yeah,
we
did.
actually, we did the presentation last year, and at that point, some time had passed, but it was like a really heavy
That was very
environment,
odd, yeah.
I guess.
It was very odd, and I don't mean to take up your time, but so there was this young lady that we have a youth advisory board, and she was from Long Meadow, and she was on our youth advisory board. and they did a project on this very topic about distracted driving. And the scenario, which they said is common, was not necessarily after prom, but it's the after party. And so we did a whole skit around a young girl that, her older sister that was 17 got in a car accident, and as a result, her life was taken. And that was a pretty impactful PSA that our Youth Advisory Board members put together. The weird thing about it was that year when we did that presentation, the main actor in that particular PSA was best friends with the young lady that was whose life was taken. I think she was an athlete. It's one of those things that we really, in everything we do, especially with distracted driving, we try to bring that across to kids who otherwise won't necessarily listen to their teachers, but when they hear real life instances and we bring it close to home, it sort of has an impact.
Sorry, I lost my presentation.
Do you need me to talk anymore?
Just I'll find more.
Just keep talking, Tony.
You know what I'll do is I'll find the date that we're going, if
Oh,
you'd
that'd
be
be great.
interested
Yeah.
to come.
So how do you define distracted driving?
We talk about any type of distractions, not drinking, not just driving, but just having kids, your friends in your car, and just not focusing on what you're doing,
Usually
like the real
this.
weather. It's
This is the
your
most
phone.
common, I
I mean,
think.
we talk about an incident, I think, an incident that happened in Longmeadow Curve, I think it was 3 or 4 months ago, where the young lady, she was not seatbelted, and she was doing this in the passenger seat on TikTok, and the driver was driving his car, and he hit I think it was a truck that was parked on the side, and she just flew right out of the car. And the thing about that, had she been wearing her seatbelt, she may not have left the car, because when she left the car, she landed in the middle of the road, and then cars were coming by. So
April
and
11th.
so when we talk about those things and we bring the prosecutors that actually show up at the scenes, we just try to bring a level of, this can really happen. And you could be a great person. You could be me. If I'm looking one way and turn the other way, and there's a pedestrian, and you've taken someone's life, and that's not a good thing for anyone. No one wants us, that. The thing about that type of crime is that it's and I'm not a lawyer. I'm just saying that. I work with prosecutors, and that's not what I do. But with that type of crime, there's no intent. So when this happens, a person, unless there's other extenuating circumstances, it boils down to like some sort of manslaughter, which the person doesn't necessarily go away for a long time. And a lot of times they end up maybe at the sheriff's department for a little bit, and then they go to his, the sheriff has a program on Mill Street to address that substance. Because it's one of those things that the person didn't go out saying, I wanted to kill someone. It just happened. And then you have a family that may think otherwise and want that person to do a lot of time. But sometimes in reality, when it comes to the legal system, they have to take all those things into account.
April 11th at 8:45.
And we'll be at
8:45.
8:45.
AM.
Correct.
Not at night?
I
Thank
think
you.
Assistant DA Tom Pendergast, I
Yes.
think he's coming. He does a really good
Great
job.
prosecutor, does an outstanding job. Tom Prendergast is out there all the time,
Awesome.
and he relates with the kids.
Thanks, Jay. I wanted to find something that's relevant to what you were just sharing. So, distracted driving was something that keeps coming up in our data as something that's creeping up for young people. And by distracted, sorry, I mean impaired. So cannabis impaired driving particularly.
Yep.
Alcohol impaired driving is on the decrease in town. Cannabis impaired driving is on the increase. People that are in cars with someone who is driving, so passengers who are in a car with someone who has been using cannabis is rising even more rapidly. And so we're trying to think creatively and outside the box about how to respond to that and how to, intervene as a community. And I approached Dr. Anuj Pradhan over at UMass's School of Mechanical and Industrial Engineering. And he's the one who his department houses the the old Arbella Distractology trailer. Do you guys remember that? It was a trailer where
Yeah, I heard
people were
about that. We
simulating.
tried to get that, actually. They're very expensive.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very
yeah.
expensive.
They're very real, yeah.
You can see a picture of it right there. So
Yeah.
students are driving and they're using their phone at the same time. So it was a way to assess distracted driving and how it impaired their driving. Arbella, I tried to track down where this trailer was, the simulation trailer, and they donated it to UMass and Dr. Anuj Pradhan's department. So I reached out to him, and lo and behold, 6 months later, we finished applying for a public service endowment grant together that would bring the Distractology trailer to Longmeadow's parking lot at the high school. And at least 50, we would shoot for 100 students, but at least 50 students that have their driver's license would be able to do cannabis impairment simulation. And the way we're going to do that is there's those, InnoCore does the drinking impairment goggles. They also have cannabis impairment goggles. They're not like incredibly close to the effect of cannabis, but there's a few things that are similar. So like it like messes up your perception a little bit. But there's things they can do in the simulation that can emulate the effects of cannabis, which I thought was really interesting. So like delayed reaction. So like if you see, someone coming out into the road in this simulator, you can drive around it, you can stop, but the way they can like to the millisecond delay how quickly things can operate, like steering wheel, gas, brake, and so they can delay in similar ways to the way cannabis impairs your driving, how it delays your reaction time. So that was really cool, and there's a few other things where like the goggles take away the color red and make it look gray, and so you wouldn't be able to see brake lights or stop signs. And so, yeah, he's developing the simulation, but we're gonna try to get, I think it's like $15,000. Most of the money would actually go toward the students participating, just getting $50 to participate. And then the rest of the money would just be like snacks and other ways to advertise it. Hopefully we get the money. There's virtually no evidence that this is like evidence-based practice, but we were like, we have to get creative because there's nothing out there right now. And we were like, the most important thing is provide information for teenagers, and can we decrease their perception? Can we increase their perception of harm of driving cannabis impaired? And we think because the trailer is actually, you guys both went there.
Yeah.
Vivian and Grace both saw the simulation. You drove. Did you drive?
Yeah.
You both
Nice.
drove. Did either of you drive with the cannabis impairment goggles?
Yeah, we both did.
How did you do?
I honestly don't remember.
See, that's an effective.
She was not impaired.
I don't remember anything. But it was harder to drive, obviously, with the cannabis
Yeah.
impairment goggles.
Yeah.
She
I
doesn't
remember you
recall.
it was tricky. It was tough. Yeah, any other thoughts or memories of that experience?
No, yeah, I think it would be helpful. There's that one, I don't know if I remember this, but there's one part where I think they like set it up this way so you can't see around this other car, and there's like a pedestrian that like
Yeah.
jumps
Yeah.
out to you.
Yeah.
And every single time, I think Grace and I hit them.
Yeah, probably.
Because it's just so like it's just the way it's built, but it's
Unless
definitely-
you like slow.
Yeah, like-
you're gonna probably
yeah.
hit the person. Yeah. So.
But yeah, it would definitely be helpful.
I think, yeah, and with the goggles, if that person or that car was red, or the person's wearing a red
Yeah,
shirt,
you couldn't see stoplights.
You
which
can't
is-
see it, and you can't see the stoplight. So, that's not what happens when you're cannabis impaired. You can see the color red, but it's the idea of like just changing your depth perception, your color perception, all sorts of stuff. Yeah, so we'll see. I'll keep you guys posted on how the results go. We just thought it'd be an interesting way to track if we can increase students' perception of harm. And then we asked that question on the survey this year too, the school climate survey. How risky do you think it is to drive cannabis impaired? Because usually we ask, have you driven cannabis impaired? Have you been a passenger in a car with someone driving cannabis impaired? This year we're asking those same questions, but we're also asking, how risky is it to drive cannabis impaired? So now we're gonna have a bunch of data on that before we even do this, this simulation. Hopefully we get funding for it. It'd be cool. Oh, and the funding will pay for the trailer to come down here because it's expensive to move this thing. But what an awesome partnership with UMass, and he was super open to it because he does a ton of alcohol impairment simulation over at UMass. They have an amazing. Did you guys see the simulator in that room? I think maybe you guys got there later. They just have like a really intense. It's like an actual car. It's great. There's screens like virtual reality screens like all around it. It was very cool. So this is not as cool, but mobile, so that's useful. Anyways, what you guys were talking about with impaired driving just made me think of that, because that's one thing we're trying to do next spring.
Can I ask, is the actual question, how dangerous is it to drive cannabis impaired? I just, are you feeding information when you say impaired? Like, is that going to skew your answer? As opposed to saying after using cannabis or.
Oh, yeah,
no.
that's a good question. Well, we already locked in the question this year. But I think it's just it's a Likert scale of like, no risk, slight risk, some risk, a lot of risk. And the question is, how risky do you think it is to drive impaired under the influence of cannabis or something like that? I can find the exact question, but
Okay.
it does lead the person answering it.
Yeah.
It's not super vague, it's pretty specific, so. Yeah.
So we should kind of explain to you a little bit about what some of our distracted driving events sort of look like. And we have driving simulators, not as sophisticated as that. We looked at that, and yeah, it's $15,000, I think. So what our events will look like is we set up stations, and we can do it in any gym. So one station will have 2 driving simulators, steering wheel, and you'll have the screen in front of you, and it sort of has the effects of driving, whether the reaction time is sort of changed or sort of fiddled with. So that's part one. The other station would be, we have a map that's got like a line, and sometimes we have the town's law enforcement, school resource officer, so to do like field sobriety test. And we have these goggles, the impairment goggles that they use, so they could, determine what level of sobriety that person is, and then have them do a simulated field sobriety test. And then another station will have a maze. It's like a sort of a maze that kids can draw. Start here and end here. And
With like dry erase
Dry
markers?
erase
Yeah.
maze,
And then they
It's really hard
exactly.
when you have the goggles
And it's
on.
hard, and then they got the goggles, and they could tell, how if they can go through the maze with the goggles on.
So they're assessing their impairment. They're
Yes.
like, oh, I can't do
And
it
then
as easily.
we have stop the shirt, swerve shirts that we'll give to them, the winners and stuff like that. And then there's the town of Southwick. They have the police department. They have an actual go-kart, like a pedal car, not gas. And we've used that, and sometimes they'll loan that to other towns. And we'll have cones that they'll set up, and the kids will actually, pedal the go-karts around the cones with the impairment goggles on. So that's something that we've done for schools, that's more interactive and not. And then we'll couple that with maybe the following day, we'll do the presentation with the video and have the guest speaker, the AD.
Oh, so it'll be
Matter of
part
fact,
of
we're
like
doing
all
that.
the same
Matter of
event.
fact, we're doing that in East Long Meadow soon. One day we're going to go there and do the stations and the activities, and the next day we're going to come in and do the presentation.
So that would be over like 2 days.
Over 2 days, it could be one day. It depends on, we can do.
It's really up to the
to
schools.
the
Like
school and their
sometimes
scheduling.
sometimes the schedule, they prefer it to do 2 days.
Yeah.
But in the past, we have done like the activities in the morning, and then everyone meets in the auditorium and has watches the documentary and hears from the speaker. So it kind of depending on schedule.
Yeah.
But in Long Meadow's case, since we already we have the presentation scheduled, if we wanted to come earlier in the week or whatever it may be and set up the stations, we could easily do that.
Is there any data, I'm sorry, I just keep bringing up the data thing, like pre-intervention surveys on how people feel about this, and then after they do it, like a month later, like have their opinions changed to just show like the impact of the intervention, of the teaching?
We've done surveys, with schools after we've left it to sort of let us know how their students receive the information. But quite honestly, how we sort of determine the effectiveness of any of our programs is whenever we go to schools and the kids remember us from the program and can literally tell us what we've talked about. whether it's social media, which is a big thing, or distracted driving, or the 1 in 11. We just tell the real stories. Our job is to get the information out there, compiled with some stories to bring the humanity around the situation, and hopefully it's a little bit more than students sort of reading it in a book. But whether we can say, okay, we went to a school and the students did a survey, and you can determine how they felt at that point before the presentation versus how they felt after the presentation. I don't know how that'll work and how accurate that'll be. And one of the things and we work with students a lot, and especially the high school students, one of the questions are when they take the test, and it's always been that question, the youth risk behavior, the prevention needs assessments test, or the
Yeah, it's all the same.
yes, whether how accurate those can be, because kids are very, very, very savvy.
They have to be.
Yeah.
Oh, that was one thing I heard in the podcast that was so interesting. They talked about how the pandemic affected young people and their mental health, because there was already sort of a looming mental health crisis with young people, and then the pandemic happened. And the two things that that teenagers really need to have a healthy development during that stage of their growth is independence and a really consistent, supportive, healthy social group. And those two things are like the biggest things that took a hit during the pandemic. So it just like completely exacerbated like all mental health negative outcomes. So it's just something you made me think of. Yeah. What an amazing resource. I know you guys did Stop the Swerve. I didn't know you guys came here so regular, so that's so exciting. I don't know how I haven't seen it here yet, but I want to come.
Fact check that. I don't know if we do it every single year or not.
Okay.
There's a couple schools in Hampden County that we consistently go each year.
Okay.
I
I thought Long Meadow was one of them. I know
I
Southwick's
think
one of
I
them.
remember this from last year.
Okay.
Do you remember this?
No, I don't.
No.
Sorry.
But I definitely remember.
Minitrog is one of them. But
One
now
time,
that
yeah.
Miss Drawick's here, it will consistently be a yearly thing.
Yeah, we've done a lot with her when she was at Minichog.
Yeah.
I remember a long time ago we did something in Long Meadow where they had the EMTs. I mean, they really acted it out, and they had they showed up, and one of our youth advisory members pretended to be the one that was in the car. It was really
Like a car crash.
yeah.
Yeah, and we used to, the high school used to participate in the campaign that you were,
Yes, I
that you
think-
were
I think you
explaining
guys won it,
before.
yeah.
Noelle Ehrenberg, I remember, was on the team that won for a slogan,
Oh, yeah,
where they created a slogan.
yeah. I know Duncan was here when they did the
Mhm.
fake crash. scene
Right, out in the parking lot, yeah.
There's a lot of question as to whether the car and the crash thing really works, or how effective that is.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't know, but we just
Up to 2 weeks, apparently. This is
Oh, is
what
it?
I've
Oh,
heard.
that's right.
Up to
Yeah.
2 weeks of a
That's right.
behavioral
Yeah.
impact after well, they call it like fear-based intervention. So kids are so scared to see that they're like, oh my gosh, I don't want anything like that to happen to me and my friends, which can be effective apparently up to about 2 weeks. And then after that, something happens where they kind of forget about it and other things come up, and then it's less likely to have an impact. That being said, it's like if you can do the prom crash 2 weeks before,
Yeah,
an
exactly.
event,
Right, yeah.
go for it.
Right.
And if apparently it can be done poorly too, or it can be done well. So, having kids that are really high-profile substance users and partiers, like being the participants, not a great move, but like responsible kids that people respect and trust. Like, there's all these different ways to do it and not do it. But yeah, it's a slippery slope. So it's a big undertaking that I've sort of avoided as a prevention specialist. But it can be super helpful, I think. That being said, so we have this campaign right here, the Parents Who Host Lose the Most campaign. Last year, it came up, the idea of how about when parents host, everyone loses? Because we can do a new lawn sign campaign this spring, and I wanted to get the pulse of the group in this room about what that message should be and how it should change and how it should look.
I like that.
I kind of like that message.
This is
I
a
like it.
national campaign when parents who host lose the most. So we paid for the rights to advertise this, but we could also just make up our own based on our own message, which has
But are there other national campaigns similar to it? That
not
we
like
could-
this. No.
Not as good as.
Well, I don't know if they're not as good. It's just we could come up with, I just love the idea of when parents host, everyone loses. I think that really resonated, I think, with the group last year.
But it doesn't rhyme. That's what
It doesn't, yeah.
Oh, is that what you said?
Actually,
Yeah.
the parents who's the most.
I know, well, it was my daughter who was the one who pointed out that she really didn't like
that your
these
daughter?
signs, yeah.
Yeah.
And I told her she needed to work on a new slogan, but I don't think
She
it was
couldn't
on
come
her
up with one?
priority list.
That rhymes.
That rhymes. Does it have to rhyme? I don't know.
No, but I mean, they lose a lot. I mean, that is
Yeah.
straight to the point. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like you lose a lot, whether you lose, you just
Money,
lose a lot.
life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your child.
Illegal, unsafe, costly. Well, let's say we were to play around with when parents host, everyone loses, even though it doesn't
Yeah.
rhyme. Any kind of imagery that would be more effective or less effective than a gavel smashing down on something?
I mean, it's directed at the parents, I guess. What do?
And it doesn't
Yeah.
seem to be directed at like the loss of like people.
Yeah,
Loss of life.
right,
Yeah,
which is
this
what.
could
what-
be
yeah.
Which
fatal.
is the losing the
Losing,
most. And I
yes.
think that that's
Yeah.
what the problem was. It's
Yeah.
I think what Megan was trying to say is that it's acting like you getting in trouble is losing
Yeah.
the most, but that's not who really lost the most. It's
Yeah, the
person
liable
who
parents
lost.
don't
Right.
lose the most, it's the
Right.
parents of the victims.
Yeah.
Right,
That's a good point.
yeah,
Especially here,
Yeah, I
you know?
can see that
Yeah.
yeah.
clearly.
So how do
But
you
you- yeah.
highlight
Tombstone?
that?
Yeah, the graphics for that aren't great.
Yeah, right.
Tombstone?
Yeah.
No.
That's.
Highlight parents.
Really so.
I mean, you could have like the conversation bubbles or something like that. Highlight parents' influence. A parent talking to a child. I'm just making stuff up. Y'all are the experts.
Yeah.
I mean, if the most you can lose is a life, I like
Yeah.
the
Right.
signaling
The
to.
tombstone isn't, to me,
death.
that's
Oh
it's cut
gosh.
and dry, you know what you're saying.
So you're pro tombstone?
I wouldn't be, I mean, I don't think it would have to be the only thing, but,
Okay.
um,
I'm so weary, but yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what the answer is though.
I don't know. I'm not worried about offending anybody.
Yeah, right. Oh, I'm not as concerned about offending. I'm more concerned about just the message being lost on.
Effective.
Like that would there's that.
That's true.
If there's an extreme, it's
Yeah.
that would never happen to me. That would never happen here.
Yeah.
And then, is there a way to make it connect to? Actually, this has happened here. This does happen here.
Yeah.
Maybe like what's like a super iconic visual from the town of Longmeadow? The community house? Center school?
Oh, you mean like a,
Just like
The
if you saw
rooster
something in the
on-
background, you'd be like, oh, that's the town of Longmeadow.
oh, so that we all lose kind of thing. Well, what about just faces?
Or no, I'm just thinking like
Oh.
a message, but then it just something visually that ties it to this community. What's the most Longmeadow thing ever, besides sidewalks? Actually, we could
You
include
would know
sidewalks.
the answer
Children that
better
are
than I
well
would.
above average?
You have nice pictures on the Close website.
Yeah, those are Patty Gill's husband. He took those. Those are amazing.
But I'm just thinking if we're saying everyone loses, I don't know, faces that imply whatever.
Children who are lost.
Parents and friends, or, I mean, just
Oh, like
faces.
many faces.
Many
Oh, that's a cool
faces.
idea. Ooh, I like that a lot. You can get some really good free images online, just of like, yeah, like collage of just faces, and then it can be sort of a little more opaque, and then the font itself can be like a deep, bold white, so that pops. But then you have
Yeah.
just many faces. I kind of
Yeah.
like that. Huh. Okay. Other ideas. Vivian, you're like super graphic design smart.
I'm trying to think of like a good slogan, like What's rhyming? It's
You want to stick with the
it's,
rhyme?
It's something nothing's coming up.
Okay. Well, you just keep thinking.
I will.
I know where to find you in the library.
Parents who serve
Oh gosh.
make children swerve. I don't think.
You know what, Dr. Taylor Kelly, that does rhyme.
I'm not a poet.
You know it.
I really know it now because I feel like I was just.
No, that was. I think that
squashed.
was a great swing. And not everyone's supposed
And
to
a
play
miss.
baseball. Yeah. No, I love it. I love the ideas. There's no bad ideas, except
Paul,
for that
there
last
are
one. That was really,
If you just Google parents who host Lose the Most, there are some videos on here, so they might have some ideas.
Different
I'm not
visuals.
watching the videos
Yeah.
right now, but like there might be some more images in the videos. that
Okay.
Maybe
Oh.
would be.
so check out their
Yeah.
resources.
But the
Yeah.
goal is someone driving by reads this, right? Not someone walking
that's
by
right.
reads the
Yeah.
fine print.
Well, there's so many people that walk by, which is helpful.
That's true
but
because we have sidewalks.
many sidewalks. But the drive-by is the most ideal. Like, whoa, there it is. I see it. And then they see it 25 more times that week, and then they finally read the whole message. That's sort of the way I think.
But
about it.
it's also that, and that's why the rhyming really works because
Right.
it's like
But is the
Yes.
target the parents or
Yes.
the students?
no,
Parents.
it's the
The
parents.
parents.
Parents making choices around hosting. Really, there have been so much less alcohol-based grad parties in Longmeadow the last few years. I'm more thinking about like parents sort of turning a blind eye to the Cape Week stuff happening. Of like, that is such a huge risk. It's such a huge liability, and people just think, well, it can't. Nothing that bad can happen. Hopefully, and it's like that. It's just a matter of time before something awful happens. So.
Parents who ignore.
Oh boy. No.
What'd you say?
Oh boy, come up. What do you got?
I don't have anything else. I'm passing the ball to Andrew. I can tell he's got something coming.
I'm gonna have to hear this all week at work.
Okay. Well, we don't have to sit on it too long. But I would love people's input. If you come up with an idea, if you think of something in your free time, shoot me.
All
an
the
email.
ones when I googled those who host lose the most. It's all like legal
Criminal
slang.
justice stuff.
Yeah, like there's a beer bottle with handcuffs on it.
Mhm. Okay. How about the postcards that we sent out last spring? Something similar again? Just similar round of. Were those effective? Do you guys remember getting them in the mail?
I like the postcards.
I like the postcards.
Should we be sending Longmeadow school data on the postcards?
That's
There
what-
is.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little bit hidden, but yeah, most
91%
parents.
of Longmeadow parents don't allow teen drinking in their home. Do you see that in the pink?
I do see that. I just wonder, like, but 70% of Longmeadow High School students surveyed said they did X, Y, or Z. You know, like,
I think it was a series of postcards, and so each postcard has a different fact on it.
Let me
Correct,
find another
Paul.
one. Most parents don't serve alcohol to minors. Let's see if I find another one.
I think there was one like, most parents do call before they send their kid to somebody else's house to make sure that the parents are home or.
And we struggle with that message because it's so long, but yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I
basically
think
like
that's-
most parents are making a call to see what's going on. Is there going to be drinking? Is there going to be illicit activity? You got to get going, Dr. Kelly.
Yeah.
We can probably just wrap up at 8 o'clock actually, but you can obviously still go.
I just need quiet time to focus on that one.
We'll be waiting.
Yeah, please let us know. Another postcard campaign, not a bad idea. Include more local data if possible. I can't agree
like,
more.
I think, like that seemed like a very positive message. Like 92% of
Most parents are doing the right thing, yeah.
right, but then also like, you know, there's still work that needs to be done because of X.
The 9%
Because of
of
this.
Whatever, no,
parents that
you
do
know,
allow
the-
teen drinking.
what kids are reporting in the schools or what's being observed or things like that.
Oh, I think he's saying like the stats where it, like,
The
where you
surveys that are
know,
done.
where you know, like, you should be targeting on the fact that kids think that being in a car with someone who's under the influence of cannabis isn't as dangerous as being in the car.
Yeah.
Someone-
Actually,
like-
we will
like
have the
more
data
targeted
in
like
time.
that.
I think that'd be really interesting. The impaired driving, that's going to be new data, so.
Like you want to share some data that compels people to do more, not
To
just
pay
pat
attention.
themselves on the back. Oh,
Right.
92% of us don't let our kids drink.
I think the cannabis one is, because I think that's, at least, I mean, in our workplace,
pretty common.
it's very common.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it's natural, and it's legal, and whatever.
I love that idea, Andrew. Okay, I can do that. Usually we have messages, I don't know why they weren't included in last year's campaign, but it's basically like, talk early, talk often,
Yeah, that one.
Uh, teens are still listening, parents still matter, teens are still listening, that kind of stuff. We came up with this last year about just parental influence on teen drinking, because parents matter so much, and like how you can influence. I think in particular, there's parent substance use or parent drinking in front of kids. There's a lot of parents just wondering, like, is it okay if I have a drink with dinner? And it's like, yeah, sure. Here's some good strategies on having less of a negative impact on your kids with your own drinking. And then I wanted to just show you a few things coming up. I know Dr. Taylor Kelly has to go, but the rest of us, I can get us out of here in 4 minutes. This is this year's social norms messaging campaign that's going to start in the high school in the next few weeks. The theme was LHS Wrapped, which is like a Spotify theme. Can you explain? One of you explain.
One of you young people.
Spotify Wrapped. What is it?
It's like a yearly thing where it kind of just like highlights, like, I don't know, the top genres that you listen to, like the top artists. It's like not like a big deal, but everyone always like compares theirs.
People love it.
Yeah.
People love getting that wrapped
Yeah.
synopsis of the year in their Spotify account. And so instead of Spotify logo, it's like a logo for data, which is fun. And it's all positive, healthy social norms of the students at Longmeadow High School around drinking, substance use, vaping, cannabis use, what students are doing to relieve stress, listening to music, talking with friends. And it's exciting. So each of these will be their own poster, and they'll go out for a couple of weeks through the participating teachers in their classrooms. It'll be, upwards of 100 teachers that'll host these.
Just edit the first one.
What does it say?
It has 8 out of 10, but it says 75%.
Well, no. So that's accurate.
It's mathematically correct, though.
What isn't? If you round up 75, it's to 8, right?
Why wouldn't you put 80% though? It
Yeah.
improves your message.
But the percentage is not 80%. The percentage was 75%.
Then don't
So you
say 8 out
rounded,
of 10.
so put like 7.6.
If you're rounding
out
up
of 10.
10 people, it would be 8 of those 10 people.
Just saying, you're
You
gonna have
can't-
some math people on you.
You can't do that.
You know what? This is good. People see it, they question it. I love it. They question the validity. Yeah,
You
it
can
makes
just
them.
get rid of the percentage.
Yeah.
Just do 8 out of 10.
Yeah, just say 8 out of 10.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. These aren't finalized. We'll do it. Thanks for the feedback.
He didn't want to say it out loud.
I love it. He
Trying to be
whispered.
nice.
He made me do it. He
No,
made me do
thank you
it.
for whispering. We have a prescription drug take-back Saturday, April 27th. We team up with Western New England University School of Pharmacy, 10 to 11 on that Saturday morning. So come on with your unwanted, unused, expired prescription drugs, drop them off, and we will collect them. We had over 120 pounds in the fall. So let's beat that record.
That's
Let's get,
awesome.
I
That
know.
is really important stuff.
and that 120 pounds is, pills aren't heavy, so that's a lot of pills.
Yeah.
We developed this for all the elementary nurses. They sent these to every family in the elementary schools, or they're sending them, I think, in the next month, just around keeping alcohol, cannabis, and other harmful toxins in the family out of the reach of their kids. And these are the tips on just poison prevention. So, substance prevention can start with the idea of poison prevention for younger brains.
Mm-hmm.
Those are magnets. These magnets went home, and they hopefully go on everyone's fridge, unless they have a cheap, what do you call it? Stainless steel fake front of a fridge like I do, and nothing sticks to it, so you have to stick it to the side. All right. What else did I have? These are opportunities for involvement. If folks want to participate in any of our subcommittees, reach out to me at paul@closecommunity.org. Our next meeting is Thursday, May 23rd at 7 p.m. right here in room A15 and on LCTV. And thank you so much for joining us. And this is how you can connect with us on social media. I hope you guys have a really safe and wonderful spring. Stay tuned for all of our safe prom and grad messaging.
Wait, what night is the prom?
The 30th.
Okay.
We'll figure that out offline.
No, I wanted to make sure it wasn't May 23rd, because
Oh,
I,
jeez, that
right
would've been-
around then, you're
that
right,
would've
it's
been
the
perfect.
30th, okay.
That would have been awful.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you to
I'm like,
LCT.
none of us will be here.
Thank you to LCTV for hosting this and producing us tonight. Have a great night, folks.
I felt like I was.
Thank you, you players.
Thanks, Brian.
Did you cut it off already, Brian, or?
No, you're.
Oh, boy, okay. They cut.